Hello, this is Julian with Coffee Reviews, and today we'll be reviewing day 22 of KaffeBox's Advent Calendar, featuring the Taba Washed Ethiopia from Love Coffee. And there's the container right there. Alright, let's talk a little bit about Love Coffee. So they're based out of Lund, Sweden. And my first time ever trying them was 2 days ago when I reviewed their Don Eli Washed Costa Rica. And my biggest takeaway from that coffee specifically was it had been a lot more tame relative to a lot of the other things I've been having from this Advent calendar up to that point. That being said, it is a washed Central American coffee, which on a whole tends to be more tame than those, wild and funky naturals and anaerobic coffees. So I was very curious to try their second coffee and see if I could get a better overall impression of them as a whole. And me being as completely honest and transparent as possible with everything I do on this channel, I will openly admit that I had a pretty tricky time with this coffee as well. I had a difficult time picking out some good flavor descriptors that I felt comfortable with, as well as a tasting wheel that I was very happy with. So I will start off with that, and as we get a little further into this video, I feel like you'll see what I'm saying. But let me get the recipe out of the way. 16.67 to 1 water to coffee ratio at 201 degrees Fahrenheit, what I've been using. Brewed through the Chemex, and this one also a standard Nordic light roast. So let's go ahead and talk about the coffee itself. And I had a hard time early on picking out anything that I felt happy with this coffee. Couldn't get a whole lot from just smelling the beans, grinding the beans, the bloom, and the first sip. The best thing I could take away was it was a pretty light-bodied cup of coffee, and that's pretty much where it ends, where I had it in line with the taste profile they had listed on their website, on KaffeBox's Instagram page. So after that first sip, I let it cool down a little bit, and what I was getting from it was some saltiness that I felt like maybe in line with some nuttiness. Cashews is what it reminded me the most of, with a little bit of chocolate. And the chocolate seemed to be the most prominent thing, again, in terms of a flavor I was actually getting from this coffee. As I was letting it cool down, I was still trying to pick out things. I couldn't help but feel this is one of those coffees you definitely need to let cool down a lot to really pick out the things that are supposed to be in it. But I was struggling. I still couldn't pick out things. The saltiness and the chocolatiness were the two things that kept coming to me from this coffee. So as I was making my tasting wheel, I said, okay, I'm struggling. I'm going to look up the Instagram page, and I pulled up the Instagram page to see the taste profile, and had listed black tea in line with what I was tasting, but then peach and tangerine, which I definitely wasn't getting those. And looking back on it, seeing that it's a Guji Ethiopia, and I have so many Guji's Ethiopia in my life, Guji Ethiopias in my life. Those are very peachy coffees, and I just couldn't pull peach out of this coffee until now. It's at room temperature, and I can just get a tiniest bit of peach from it. So yeah, those are my open and honest struggles with this coffee. I'm going to pull up my tasting wheel right now so you can see what I was getting from this coffee. And it was still a pretty clean cup of coffee, so I felt like I was maybe drinking a washed Central American again, but being a washed Ethiopia was a little bit of a surprise to me. Chocolate, I put chocolate was the highest thing. I waffled back and forth between 2 and 3 on that one. And the stone fruit, as it's definitely cooled down, I'm definitely more comfortable putting it at that 3 level. It's definitely a 3 now, but for the longest time I was looking more at leaving it at a 2. That being said, what I find kind of interesting and funny is that this tasting wheel looks pretty similar to the first tasting wheel I'd had from Love Coffee as well. And in defense of myself, the one thing I can say is that they are both washed Typicas as their cultivar, so as their type of coffee. And even though one's in Ethiopia and one's in Costa Rica, which tend to be usually pretty different cups of coffee, I mean, that's my best defense for this, because I felt like these two coffees had so many commonalities, so many characteristics that were pretty similar. So that's going to be my defense for why I think I couldn't help but notice these two coffees just kind of felt the same to me, that Costa Rica and this Ethiopia. And again, honest, I struggled with this coffee, so that's what I'll say about this one. I feel like the type of person I could suggest this coffee to is somebody that does like something slightly more tame in terms of the Nordic roast, but at the same time does enjoy a challenge, because I feel like if you gave me a full bag of this coffee, I'd be able to dial it in and get it right at some point where I would get probably these beautiful peach and tangerine flavors that they have listed on here. But I didn't, and that's the way it is. I will leave it at that. And if you have tried this coffee, I would love to know your opinions on it. And again, if you've tried Love Coffee, please let me know what you think of them as a whole. If you're enjoying the content, give this video a like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. But this right here has been a review of the Taba Washed Ethiopia from Love Coffee. Thank you for watching.